In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about how to lay your warehouse out and the strategy behind it. So make sure you stay tuned to learn more about it. So if you don't know much about me and Eddie, because I realized we looked on there, a lot of people are new. We do this podcast or video episodes to help people in the event and party rental space to grow, start their business, and to help maintain and using our, from our simple strategies to our event strategies, all the way up and giving everything we can. If you want to learn more about the party rental space, check out the Ultimate Checklist. Hit them with the Ultimate Checklist, Eddie.
Ultimate Checklist. This is me and Xavier's baby. We put a lot of time.
It's one of Eddie's babies. One of Eddie's babies.
Put a lot of time in it, and it's ever growing. Sometimes I'm like, Xavier, that's a little bit much giving it away for free. But one thing that we know is we just wish we had something, along these lines to help us out during our growth. But, if we did, then we wouldn't have, had all the experiences that we did have. So maybe it was a good thing. But, this checklist was to help out everybody, whether you're starting or you've already started. You have a lot of questions. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So check it out. It doesn't cost you anything but time to read over this. I think we're coming out with an audio version of it.
Yeah. So once we finish the whole book, this is just segments. We have a bigger section that we're gonna put into an audio version. That one we don't have to charge because that's how we send it out through Audible. But the actual book, when we do in the future, would be like, what are the cheapest we can put it on for Amazon? It'll just go from there. You can just go through it. But like, this is the building blocks of it that we're building up to, and we're gonna keep updating this, and then that'll get bigger, and then hopefully, we can create something that really help people, and because we're just trying to shorten the time, because Eddie's right. We did go through a lot of things that helped us become closer as partners, but preferably, I would wish we would have went through those things. At least 3 of them I wish we could have not went through. And other stuff, we could still go through other stuff. But if this can just help one person, that's basically why we make this, avoid one of the mistakes we made, or just one of the mistakes that a lot of people make out there, especially when you're starting off or getting started. That's kind of what it's for. But check this out. Check out the links down in the descriptions below to really help out the channel. We're going to get into this episode. This is going to be a kind of a heavier episode, kind of more specified around Eddie, because he's in the warehouse. I'm pretty sure I just unplugged his headphones.
Yep, sure did. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, so we're going to figure that out on there. Give me 1 second. Plug me up.
Okay,
And he's back.
I hear something.
All right, and he's back. Okay. So Eddie, when you're thinking about warehouse, like, what do you imagine in your head to be the perfect warehouse?
The perfect warehouse, I think, to me, what the perfect warehouse would be very, very time efficient. When I say that, items that are, regularly going out, it's very easy to get to the items. It's very easy to get them clean in certain areas. So the main thing that is efficiency and ease of use is what I'm looking at as far as
Okay.
warehouse
Hit me with
goes.
the features, not the benefits, just the features.
Features?
I want to hear the stats.
It really depends. Also, like if we're talking about someone's garage,
Our size.
Our size? Well, what's that? 12,000?
No, like our warehouse. Like if you had to choose the perfect warehouse today, what would you choose? What would be the features?
Like the square footage?
Like everything. What would it include?
I mean, I like the 12,000 square footage. Mm-hmm. It's pretty nice. I don't know what it would include is high ceilings. Because one thing that we know is you can always go up. If you have a forklift, it's really easy to get these pallets off of the forklift. Uprights is what I'm talking about. It just makes things a lot more organized, and once it's stored up, you won't be tripping over these things. And then also you have sections, tables here, chairs here. You can also have like damaged items put up a certain section on uprights. The more space you have, the more you can move around and the more you can grow. Because I know one thing that we have learned is space is kind of a limiting factor, especially if you're fast growing. If you're you're gonna stay a certain size for a while, then you won't have to worry about that. What I just said. But if you're looking to grow, then you also, you want to have a shoe that you can grow into. But something that's not too huge where it's out of your budget. It's killing you month to month for the overhead. But that's something that I like. Just that for our size, a break room, stuff like that. Just like little things, like the more you can separate things that do it, the more functionality that you'll have. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, something I'm looking at is just 12,000 square foot or bigger. If we throw in the other one, it gets even bigger. But we're not considering the parking lot or our personal section.
Yeah. So my list would be for perfect warehouse. I would list. We will have at least at our size right now. We have at least 6 bay doors. Mm-hmm. 3 would be ground level. 3 would be dock on there for some stuff on the side when it didn't feature. We have a huge parking lot, like at least 5 times bigger than the building. We'll have an enclosed area that is the same size as the building. We have covered overhangs over the overhead doors. Mm-hmm. It'll be 30-foot ceilings all the way across, not sloping, just all the way across. It'll be heated and cool on there.
Oh, the warehouse guys will love that.
Heated and cool. We'll have great Wi-Fi that goes through it on there. We'll have, like you said, we'll have at least 6 bathroom places that you can use on different spots, because sometimes you got to go, you need to run. It'll be 30,000 square feet at minimum. Preferably be right in the middle of the city, right on the highway, so you drive out and go straight on the highway. But this is a fictionary stuff. But the reason why I ask these questions right here is that, I know most of you guys are thinking like, what do I want to do? Like what I want. I'm pretty sure a couple of you guys are getting out there. I want my first warehouse, my first storage unit, or whatever that, and how you're gonna position it and do it, and kind of go out there. Like realistically, when I think about it right here, whatever you want to get to, like you need to know exactly what the goal of that is. And the whole point I'm trying to get to this right here is form. It's like we're getting a new warehouse, and like we're about to mock up the warehouse. This is the first warehouse. Really before time we just actually will mock everything up and kind of get everything set up. So like why is it important to even do that? To even to create a layout or create a design of where you're going to put everything out before you just get in there?
I think it's important because one thing is, it can be a cluster, and then you can kind of double work yourself if you don't have things planned out. I think that's one thing that we've come to realize is a lot of times that in the past we just kind of wing it, and then and then we look back and say, well, this should have been put over here, and now to even get that to make it possible, it would be so much work to get it done. So I think the best thing is to kind of strategize and mock up stuff, tape off certain things, make lanes. That's very important. Once you do decide that, hey, this is what I'm going to get, like we'll just say a storage unit. We've even done that in storage units. We'll mock up. We already know the dimensions of tables. We'll say X amount of tables will fit here. We'll go ahead and mock everything in tape, so everything has an assigned place. And, if you're not there, then the next person that walks in can very easily see the blueprint and see what needs to go where. And you can very easily see when something's not in its place. And you walk in there and say, hey, this is not supposed to be here. And you can address the issue there right then and there with whoever did that, if you have cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when you're doing the warehouse location, when you're actually doing the layout of every single thing, like what is a general practice that people need to go through and do when doing this? Like what do they need? What should they look out for? What's the spacing they should have between racks? What size racks they might need compared to the space? Like if their space stops at 18, like what size rack can you go up to do that? Like how does that work?
So now this is a very tricky one, because like if we're going because every state, I believe there's certain specifications on things in cities as well. And you might have to get certain inspections done on certain places. So that one's a little tricky. It just depends on your area and what the city allows, and then also if you're doing certain uprights, certain heights. I know they have to send out inspectors to inspect the uprights themselves, make sure that they're anchored correctly, and all that other good stuff. Sounds a little tough to give a direct answer to, because it's going to vary from place to place.
Yeah. Okay. How much are these uprights? Usually, I know they change different places, but how much are they for us here?
Well, shoot,
For used versus new?
Well,
market?
used, it depends how tall, also. So we can just say if you get it used, you can get anywhere from like, an upright, maybe like $100 all the way up to like maybe 200, I'd say 100 to 200 for an upright used. Because right now, especially starting right now, they're going to be in high demand because this is when companies start ramping up, and then everybody says, "Oh, supplies is very low right now," but they're sitting on them and they have them. But yeah, used uprights. It's because I hear that all the time. Because I think you and me, we bought them brand new. And that's the story that we get. Like, oh, they're so hard, or I think they're brokers, is what they are. And obviously, if they can paint a picture that's saying, hey, it's really hard, then at that point, the value of when they shoot you that, hey, this upright right here, being $300-$400 each one, it's a steal.
Yeah.
Versus saying, all right, this is what it is, and I don't know. It's a little game that they play.
It's a scarcity, creating scarcity.
Yeah, exactly. But
artificial scarcity, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, use uprights aren't bad, and there's different designs as well. There's the teardrop ones, and then there's ones that have these hooks. I don't know the actual name for them, but yeah, there's different designs when you're getting the commercial uprights. But
yeah. So for everyone else out there who's probably like, what is an upright? What is a beam?
Well, if you go to Home Depot and you see those things that just stacked all the way up to the ceiling, they're orange or blue, and they have these beams that go across, and you just put pallets of stuff on top of those. Those are the uprights.
Yeah. So the uprights are going to be the long ones from the ground up, the vertical.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beams are horizontal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Cross beams.
Cross beams on there.
And then after that, if you want to go the extra route, there's the what's it called?
Rack stuff. Shelving.
Yeah, it's like the wire shelf. Yeah, the wire shelf. You can put that on there as well, because like sometimes if you have something that might fall through, you want to put those on there. That way, if you're pulling a rack out, a pallet out, and then it might tilt over. So the metal the cage little mesh thing will prevent that from happening.
Yeah. So another question going more into there is that like. I know for us, we kind of have these as like an asset because you can resell these.
Oh, yeah,
these
for
things,
sure.
Because it's kind of like your other rental items. Would you say that when people buy this right here, they should kind of like in a couple of years, you probably might be able to sell it more than what you bought it for used?
Very possibly, because with inflation the way it's going, I mean, people that had it's kind of like, I don't know. It's pretty much any kind of asset. If you're holding on to it. And over time, it'll go up in value. I mean, these things, they're made out of steel. They're not going to degrade or anything like that, unless you got them outside or something and they're getting weathered. But being inside a warehouse, they're pretty much going to hold their value pretty well. Because like I said, there's always somebody that's looking to buy used uprights because they're way cheaper, they're more cost efficient, and realistically, you might have some discoloration or it may look a little funky, but. They could still be used, but another thing. That's why I said about the inspection. I know some places you can easily fail with certain uprights because on some of the beams they might say that it's unsafe or whatnot, but. That's why you got to check what your local,
I'm guessing inspections are based on the height of it at a certain point.
The height and all this other good stuff. Yeah.
Once you get to a certain height, you have to start getting inspection, I'm guessing.
Yes and no. It just depends. Like I've seen all sorts of stuff. I know, like in the city of Dallas, like if you put on there storage, one of the things for the occupancy that they were asking me was like, oh, we're gonna have uprights, and then what height. And after a certain height, they don't really ask any kind of questions.
Okay, so it's just the height. So once you get to the height, that's when you might need to go into
here, but I don't know how it is. I didn't research every state, but I'm pretty sure
if y'all want Eddie to research every single state,
no,
please Eddie
don't.
Research this state.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. And just those certificates. I think one other thing, anyways.
No, go ahead, hit me up.
No, I was just saying, like one thing, like for instance, we're in Louisville. I mean, we've had Fort Worth, we have Irving, Austin. We've had Frisco, Dallas. Oh man, every occupancy is different. Like it's not the same. Like every city is different. They have different requirements. They move at different paces. Yeah, so just when you do get a warehouse, just be prepared. Other ones that they're very, I think the bigger you get, the bigger the headaches you're gonna get. So just prepare for that.
Yeah, especially like being here in Texas. I can say being somewhere like in Orlando and growing up there, when you really might only have 3 or 4 cities really close to you. Like growing up in Dallas, or not growing up in Dallas, but living in Dallas over here. There's like I think it's like over 90 cities inside of the metroplex, and there's like it's so you have so many different leaderships and stuff. There's not just one huge group that takes over everything. There's so many small things, and it gets crazy on there. So Eddie, so when someone is basically discussing what they're gonna do with their layout on this right here, actually let's jump back a little bit. What is the spacing that you need between 2 racks?
Space in between 2 racks.
Yeah, but what's like the minimum spaces like to walk or to bring a forklift down, or kind of like what kind of be like a standard point people can go off of?
I mean, if you want to, I know the fire marshal, they want 4 feet. So if you got 4 feet, you'll pass. It's very tight 4 feet. I mean, anybody would know that. I mean, me personally, I'd prefer 8. But one thing that we know for sure is like every space is different. Like our Irving location, it has like more tighter rows, and then like so for space reasons, we're not gonna have an 8-foot lane that you can go through there. Because another thing to consider is when we're taking these things out, and we don't have a forklift in Irving as well, so everybody knows. But it just depends on the space that you have. Because like if you're pulling down a pallet off of a rack, and it's really up there, you're gonna need to be able to turn and do all the other things. So if you don't have enough space to do that, so mock up a lot of these things. Like for instance, we'll just say like we have 8-foot tables, and I'm looking to pull them out. I'm not gonna be able to turn if I have an 8-foot lane. That's something that's gonna be more towards the end that we can easily access and get down, because I can turn the opposite way. So those are things that you just need to kind of look out for layouts. Like if you have longer items, or you just need to see the dimension of your item, and are you going to be able to make a turn? If you have a forklift, if you're doing everything manually by hand, then you can figure it out. You can make the lane tighter. But one thing is space.
So everybody, our camera, I guess we're talking too much today. We ran out of space, but we got it situated. While we have this break right here, get the ultimate checklist. Check out the links, and we're gonna get right back into this right here. So we were talking about spacing between the racks. I think you were saying if you're gonna do it manually, you can be tighter. If you have a forklift, you can do it. It's gonna be different. So like a lot of our users are using storages. Mm-hmm. How can they implement this tool inside of a storage, and what was to be the best way to do it, knowing they might have like a 15 by 15 storage? Like what would be the best way they can use some type of solution like this?
Yeah. So I mean, one thing is you could get smaller uprights. I know they do sell them, but the main thing is going up. Like how much room do you have going up? So if the ceiling is like 10 feet, or well, we'll just say 8 or something small, it doesn't make sense to put 8 uprights in there. But if you have more room, then you can make a second level. I think if it is like 10 foot, the ceiling height, you can put an upright in there, and then even an 8-foot upright. But the only thing is, like for the anchoring, I know you're gonna have to go into the cement, or you can just not anchor it, but that's not really safe. So it's a lot of things you could do, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But at the same time, you want to be safe.
And just don't put nothing super heavy at the top.
Yeah, put like little things, like maybe boxes or stuff like that. So if it does come down, you're not gonna be like killed in your storage unit and no one finds you for multiple days.
Yeah. And you also you can look at any racking solution. Like for a while we had I think we had one down in Austin. Mm-hmm. It was just a silver rack that we put stuff on.
Yeah.
So it's a little rack that you can store stuff on, and you can get, so like for your smaller stuff, you're gonna be able to use that. Now if you're not gonna be putting like 2 stacks of 50 by 50 chairs on top of each other inside of a storage unit, but you could be, maybe you have like generators that you want to stack up in the same space.
Generators, that thing's heavy.
Yeah, or maybe this. I seen people put generators or blowers.
Oh yeah, blowers. I can see that. Like they're not gonna like kill you or anything like that.
Yeah, maybe you want to put generators, then you want to put blowers, and then at the top you want to put sidewalls. I don't know. You can do different things, or umbrellas,
or maybe like tarps, a whole bunch of tarps, put them on the top.
Yeah. So like from a design perspective, would you say they should wrap it around the edge when they do it, or put lines in that space? Because I don't know if you remember my mom has that one storage unit that they have, and hers is huge. It's like tall.
Yeah.
It's tall, and I think it's like, it's one big storage I've seen. It's like 1,500 square feet, and the other one she has is like 2,500 or something like that, and it's like 20 feet. But so if you get one of those things from the storage warehouses things they have, then you can basically take all the tips we take from the warehouse, just a big open square. You can use those. So when someone's coming in, they have something like that, and like how do they do the space? I have a 15 by 15. How do I do this? Do I rack stuff in the back? Can I put some stuff up there, the smaller stuff, to get all my stuff off the ground? Do I use the sides? Do I just throw lines down? What's the possibilities that I might have?
I mean, you can run stuff on the sides. I think, but if you run stuff on the sides, I think that'll probably be your best bang for your buck. Is if you're looking like to really optimize, because if you run stuff just on the back, then you just have that back spot. But if you run stuff from each side, because the main thing is what uprights gives you is basically the space above the floor space. So you want to really optimize those uprights. So if you run them side, we'll just say the garage entrance is you're walking in, to your left would be an upright, and to your right would be an upright, and straight ahead it would just be your wall. And that would work out just fine. But 15 by 15, you can even put one right dead in the middle. But yeah,
smaller stuff probably.
Yeah, exactly, like smaller stuff. So. And that's what I would do. I'll kind of look at the layout. Like, what kind of equipment do I currently have? Where could I optimize the uprights? What it gives me, which is stuff above the actual floor space. So you can easily double, your actual floor square footage. Just think of it as above, what you can. Like, I know, like bounce house guys, they'll stand their bounce houses straight up. And but once you take the floor space, it's over. Versus with the upright, it's going to give you that second level above that, and that's where you can put like blowers and stuff like that, or tarps, or even chairs. Sometimes when you don't have I know it's working hard, it's like double working yourself, but sometimes you got to make do with what you got. When we did have smaller spaces, when we had way too many chairs, we put it on the second level. When we would blow out through all our chairs on the floor, then it would go grab those, and those are basically the reserves, or what we would call them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would do. I'd shoot for the walls, wall to wall. Like if I'm using the 15 by 15, when I'm first walking in, I'd do the wall to my left, the wall to my right. That way it gives me a walking distance, and also when you're pulling, whatever items you're pulling out, you still have a middle area. You can do what you got to do, and you might even need to clean your stuff, so you'll be able to do all that in the middle.
Yeah. So one thing I've seen, like, just from this conversation, I've been noticing in that part, like, if you're renting out, like, to say you're just doing dishes or something like that, like the smaller the space is, if the items are small too, you can put up more and more racks because it just takes up the space. The bigger stuff, like on there, you just need more space. But it seems like you can come in here and, like, let's say you have all your chairs on your left side on the 15 at the bottom, and then above that you have a rack that has, that might just have all your miscellaneous stuff, has like your what do you call it, like the coolers on there. It might have some pop-up tents up there that you might use. So you can do that so you can get the extra space. So it seems like no matter what size event, you can use what type of event, what size warehouse storage, garage, you can use some type of racking system to prepare yourself to get more stuff if you have bigger items and smaller items. Because, like as we've seen too, most people are not going to stack 8-foot tables up into the top of the roof. So if you're not going to do that, then you might as well, you can put something up there. And maybe it's a crate with some of your stuff, like microphones and stuff like that, and really expand the space out. And the reason why we kind of wrap back into it is that, like, you really need to be laying out your space so you can know where you're going to put it, even if you have a small space. It can be like a quick map down, say, like Eddie said, like just think about it before you guys get into it, because it is a lot harder once you're working out of it to change it.
Yeah.
And we've experienced that a lot, I feel like.
Yeah. Just like for instance, right now we lay most of our tables laying flat. It's because we want to be able to hit the forklift on it and pull it out. Somebody that's doesn't have that many, you probably want to stand them straight up because you can manually grab them better versus they're stacks sitting stacked on top of each other. So there's a lot of different things, but overall you're gonna need to try one thing. One thing that works at you at a smaller level might not work better at a medium versus a large or extra large. But just based on our experience, it's just one of those things. It's better to plan and then go into it and tweak it a little bit as you because problems are going to occur all the time, and we're always trying to solve problems. But the main thing is if you have just a basic layout, then you can really optimize the equipment that you have, and then also the equipment that you're looking to grow into the future.
Yeah. One thing interesting you said, I thought, was that like what's going to work for you now. And I'm not trying to get the other stuff I say, but what works for you today might not work for you in the future, or will not work for you. What might work for you in the future might not work for you now. Because it's interesting, because I thought about it too. Like when I look at our tables and I look at, we just stack them up, sitting down. And I see other places, they get an alley and they just put them up on there. And I realized that the reason why they might do that is because, like, as you've seen, if someone stacks up too many tables on top of each other, the bottom table starts getting damaged.
Yeah.
So if you do have a bigger space, you can take up more floor space. You can limit your items getting damaged by putting them straight up, so they not leaning against nothing else or touching nothing else. There's no weight on them. Because I was thinking, like, Peerless, when they have the round tables, like, they just put them like this. Or, if you can see on the thing, they put them, horizontally and not vertically. And they just have them in the space. And I was thinking, like, and I'm trying to see, based on what you said, that, like, that's the reason right there. Because, like, maybe they couldn't do that. Maybe they had to stack them up when they were in a smaller space. They got in a bigger space. They realized they can limit damages, which, like we talked about in our other podcast we did, by changing the operations. And this is basically what we're trying to kind of just help everybody with. As you grow, different techniques you're going to need to use at different times. Like, for the whole thing, like right now, like the stuff that we do, some of the stuff may be applicable to you, you can use, but most of the stuff is not going to be applicable until you get to our level. And that's why we bring stuff down and we talk about from a storage unit, because most people will start in their garage or storage unit. Now, there will be a couple of you guys out there, but like, I just jumped out there and I got a warehouse instantly.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nice. You got that. But for most of the rest of us out there, we're going to be starting off with warehouses, small spaces in our house. So, like, how would you even go about, like, now I'm thinking about, like, the whole garage thing. Like how would someone, like, if let's say, how would they even organize their garage to even work? Because now I'm thinking about, I have a shelving unit because he got me into this that I put in my house in the garage.
Yeah.
Like, you guys probably already using some of this stuff. You just need to put it out more.
Yeah, I mean, like, I started off in the garage, and realistically, it just depends on the combination of things that you have. One thing that takes up a lot of space is going to be your longest items. Like, if you have 8 foot, they're going to take up a lot of space. Or if you have 72-inch, rounds, we don't. But I'm just saying, if somebody decided to go that route, all those things probably are going to take up floor space. So the main thing is just, like, see what you got. If you're starting off with a fresh blank, it's canvas, it'll just say your garage. See what you got, and then from there you gotta, like, measure the ceilings, see what's possible, and then from there you just start mapping out, like, okay, this is where I'm gonna put this. And another thing you gotta worry about is, it may sound good on paper, but actually doing it, you might have stuff collapsing. Yeah. So all those things you gotta kind of have insight on. Like, okay, I do this. How tall can I actually go until it gets a little sketchy? You know what I mean? Because we can put foldable tables, stack them really high, but then it's kind of like Jenga. You stack them uneven sometimes, and it gets kind of hectic, and you have to grab them from the top. So all those things you got to kind of take in consideration.
Yeah, the kind of philosophy that I kind of go now, especially if we kind of change, so we don't went from, like, trust me, I'm the guy. Whatever space you have, I'm pretty sure I can make it somehow work. But we've gotten past that point now where we're playing Jenga and stuff like that. So usually, if it doesn't look right, then it's probably not right.
No.
That's kind of like a general philosophy on that part. Like you want to have it organized and have it set up on this part. So Eddie, so what are the factors that people might have to think about when they're setting up the layout on there? Like, because like for us, like we have technically different departments.
Yeah.
We have our inventory. We're doing our staging stuff. We're cleaning tents. We're doing laundry, power washing. We have all these different stuff. Like how do you like factor in all this stuff and make it work?
Yeah. So the main thing is you want to have a good control of traffic. So you don't want we'll just say that you don't want your drivers coming in and then they're kind of like bumping into the people that are trying to clean or you kind of want to have everything kind of staged out in their own kind of zone. That way everything's more functional, and then on top of that, the person isn't kind of bothered by the other person while they're doing what they need to be doing. Safety is another thing you got to kind of take in consideration too, because I know one thing is there's a lot of like blind spots, certain areas that we're going to need to take certain precautions, certain procedures like with the forklift, honking the horn and stuff like that. That we got multiple people out there and they're moving around, so there's a lot of different things. It just different for every person's scenario. You know what I'm saying? But just certain things to take consideration. Like I said, like I think the most important part, especially if you have a good amount of employees, is safety. You want to put them in the best position that they can be very productive. So staging certain areas for cleaning versus staging other areas for preparation is key. And one thing that I've learned is, if they're really like bunched up and they're bumping into each other, and I think that's one thing to take out from our current situation. We have so much items in these warehouses where they can barely operate, but if they're bumping into each other, then you need to change something immediately, because you just need functionality, workspace, and all that stuff. People do not like to be crammed into things. Yeah.
So I remember you said this about one time about specifically with the forklift, to one of our meetings one time, that you're gonna have lanes where like if the forklift can only go into these portions. Like if it goes out of here, someone's doing something wrong. So we can create safety zones. Like, so if you're by the drain, you shouldn't have to be worrying about a forklift hitting you.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So we're going to create these spaces that are safety zones and kind of like that. Can you kind of elaborate more on like the other zones that someone might have once they get to a warehouse our size?
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is I think it's more like kind of like if you've been to Home Depot and you have a guy with the flags and they're kind of closing off certain things. I think that's the basic concept of things. Certain areas will be kind of off limits for the forklift, because like you said, you're just coming out of the restroom and you got a forklift, like forks coming straight past in the door and it can like impale you. We don't want anything like that. And it's just, if you can lay out certain things, that way you can kind of eliminate those mishaps happening. I mean, I'm pretty sure something, an accident will happen. But if you can better prepare by staging, when it does happen that, X employees would be here, or everyone would be aware that, the equipment is in operations at the time. I think it would better the safety of the individuals and also the total operations of your company.
Yeah. I know for us too, one thing that we're looking into doing too, so it's not just about when you kind of get further, even in your space now, you're in a smaller space, you need to look into not just getting a space for every item, but making sure the space is near competitive, items that you might use with that item. Like, because when you're doing picking, you don't want to be running from this side to this side. Like I'm pretty sure we're going to have lanes. We're going to have all our tables. Then our chairs might back up against it, and then from there you go from there. Because you don't want to be looking for like, oh my gosh, like I need to get an 8 foot, and the 8 foot's on the other side of the warehouse over there, and 6 foots are here.
And also seasonal items are going to go up, and then other items, like for instance, it's starting to warm up here in Texas. We're starting to see like 80 degrees, 70 degree weather. So I'm pretty sure the heaters are going to kind of go up. But at this time, it's time to maintenance them, do whatever we need to do, wrap them up, and then put them up, and then we can do inventory on them and put that in the books. And so it's a lot of different things. But for the most part, the things that are going out very regularly, you're not going to want to put them at the very top rack. You want them somewhere kind of close so you can get to them very easily. So yeah, just consideration on the actual inventory and the flow of how it comes and goes and what needs to be done on it is one of the key to taking in mind when you do your layout.
So kind of going more into the flow. This is going to be a longer episode, guys. You see, it's a lot of stuff we can discuss in this one. But going kind of more into the flow of things for the most part, like how does people handle, because we had this issue a couple of times, or still now until we move till we fully get a new warehouse, is that like separating incoming versus outgoing, and like separating like this is clean versus this is not. Like, what is a good way for them to do that? Because like, what if they're in a warehouse where they're in a space that's 15 by 15, and they have multiple people coming in and out. Maybe it's them and another cleaning person. How do they identify what's clean? Like, how do they lay that out to kind of explain that?
Yeah. So one thing that we've already kind of crossed that bridge is the problem we were having is the drivers. They would come in and they would throw dirty stuff on top of clean stuff. So we have designated areas, and I think everybody should have kind of a designated area. Like once something touches this area, it's clean. Like there's nothing that goes in there that's dirty. And even if it's the case that, we'll just say that, a load comes in and there's no space, well, then the load needs to be put in a certain area until it gets clean. Because, once it gets to that space, because if something dirty gets there and then you send it out dirty, then it's just a big headache. So yeah, you just need to coach everybody. And the one thing that we have is like green tags, and it says it's clean, you can please take. And then we have a red tag that says dirty, do not take. So we've been using that system, and it works very well. Because like one thing that I always say is that human beings are like visual creatures. So if you see green, everybody knows green means good, go. Yellow means like cautious, and red. We use that knowing psychologically of the human being that, hey, red, danger, red, don't stop. So we purposely use that in our warehouse to kind of traffic people from grabbing the wrong things and taking what needs to be taken. But yeah, the main thing is I would do is I'd kind of have some kind of policy or some written. It has to be written because we know how it goes when you verbally say stuff. But something written somewhere, somewhere written. Even if you have to put it on a piece of paper and like instructions, but you need the warehouse dummy proof, to be honest with you, because everything needs to be written out. If you had to have little illustrations like don't take or whatever. I mean, I know some people are like, that's ridiculous. But like one thing that I've learned that like the more people that you get, the more like, I guess like child, like comprehending of it. You need to have it so simple that a child can look at it and understand what it means.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, because like what certain people understand, like, you'd be wow, like how it goes. Like somebody will like understand something that will be at a really high level, and you'll be like, dang. And then when it comes to, hey, don't put dirty stuff on top of clean stuff, is like a new concept to them.
No.
And like the differences across people is just too much to vary into. Like we got to the point where we're not assuming people know anything. We're gonna assume they don't know anything. And then, so we're not assuming like telling people like, oh, this right here, but we're just saying, just as the warehouse.
Everybody understands things differently, but like if you can get a common ground where everybody understands it, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah. So think about it, right? When anyone comes into your warehouse, even like a child, they should know kind of where everything goes if they can read for the most part. Maybe throw photos up too, actually.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
A little happy face and a smile, a little sad face. We do all that stuff. I know at first I was kind of like, oh, this is ridiculous, but hey, unfortunately, you need to make it like where everybody understands. Like,
yeah, because people are understanding stuff is totally different. It's just like I've seen some people come in and have no basic understanding of the basic concepts, but they might understand stuff on a high level, which don't make any sense, or vice versa. They don't understand all the basic stuff on the lower level, but can't understand the big picture. It's just like you said, you gotta get people on that part.
No.
Now, one thing that I really like about having a warehouse and stuff like that is that, like, especially this new warehouse we're getting into, we're actually going to start being able to manage the inventory and count it and make sure everything is going out properly. For you guys with more space, or you have someone that's there all the time taking intake, like how can someone build this system in place so they don't lose their inventory, or be able to check off that they got every single thing?
Yeah, I think that you just need to have like a certain checklist, and like, and one thing that I see flaws in everything. I mean, you need to be able to have like certain checkpoints on everything. So it can't just be like, okay, it's your sole job to make sure everything's good. Because then that one person, you put too much things on one person, like even like that kind of responsibility, it's eventually going to fail.
Yeah, they'll crumble.
Yeah, so you need to have like multiple checks. Just imagine like, I don't know, imagine you're at war and they have this road blocked off, and you know, you have to check everything. So like one thing that we're going to have is like a two check system. And, you know, we're going to have our manager, whoever, or a lead on duty, double check other people, and they're going to sign off on it. And then we're gonna have certain inventory checks. That way, like for instance, when the trucks come back and they say they have 10 chairs and they put it in the staging area, and there's gonna be cameras all over the place, and we have people that are going to be watching that. You know, and when the manager does their check for that truck number, and if it doesn't have 10 chairs, and then we're going to be able to see, hey, where's these 10 chairs at? And then we can go back. Well, was it not at the customer's house? But in the end of the day, these systems are going to be able to hold people accountable and responsible for everything that goes out that needs to come back out. Because even, to be honest with you, every person, like, you know, some people you might be like, it's okay, don't worry about it. But you know, when we do inventory check, all those stuff are going to be very, very present, and everybody's going to be able to see like, hey, there's a problem here, and we can address the problem right then and there.
Yeah, we're going to create these little signs that says if it's missing a chair, it's going to be like, missing, please call, put them on the warehouse.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, and then, I mean, there's a lot of cool things that we're doing. We're even doing, I don't know, maybe it's a different episode, but like, we've been doing like, what was it called last time we were talking about?
Last time?
Like, you know, we got one for the drivers, and we're
yeah, my bad. So yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah, so we're coming up with some statistical number to be able to rate each individual employee, compare it to the task and the goal that we want to do. The simple thing, everybody's having a scoring system.
Yeah, like a scoring. Yeah, exactly, scoring system. So it's like different little things, innovating things that we're doing. This the better the quality candidate that we do have there, and that's performing the duties. And then we can also have a score that kind of tells us like how they're doing in the warehouse. Oh, I didn't know this thing takes calls.
Eddie's got a new, I guess we had it for a little bit, but he got an Apple iPad. He's got a cellular so he can do his work, because the other computer, it just wasn't working, you know. So.
Hey, that thing was good, but this one's nice.
That thing's over there. It's not over there, I know. But yeah. So I get your point on that part. And then also, too, I just want to make sure everyone understands this right here. Like, a two-check system should not be the second check being the customer. That is not going to work. Yeah. So on that part, so at minimum, if you're going to say that, you need to have a 3-check system. You check, someone else check, and then the customer's going to 100%. You're going to get it. Basic.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna let you know.
Yeah, 100% on that part. The only times you might not get it, maybe they order a whole bunch of stuff and they don't use some of the stuff. Mm-hmm. But even then, we rarely, like customers catch it. Customers always catch under. And then you have a good amount that even might get mad if you give them a little too much. Say you brought them 102. They be like, well, I do these up to 2 chairs. You know, so like you want to know where your stuff going, where the stuff might have the risks and stuff that things are happening at. So you can just build a layout of everything you do. You want to have all your functions in place. And you can be able to build a layout in a warehouse so you can get exactly what you need. Maybe when we get ours finished out
maybe
sometime
like
next
a video
week,
or something to show people how that's
we go through. We have Eddie walk through, and then I'll ask questions and stuff, and we can go through things on there, and then we can go from there. But we're gonna wrap this episode up. This has probably been one of our longest ones we've done. We don't hit 2 memory cards on this, but I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, get the Ultimate Checklist. If you want to do some consulting with us, those links down below. If you just want to send an email and just pick our brain on a couple of things, send those too. We answer back to those as well. And also to check the affiliate links down below, really help us out. And if you got any value from what we talked about today, please give us a 5-star review so we can keep building this podcast and get out to the next person. And also share this with someone else who might find this useful. But other than that, I appreciate you, Eddie, for coming on the podcast like you do every single time, like you're a new guest.
Yeah, right.
And thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Xavier Kelly.
I'm Eddie Sauceda.
And we'll see you on the next one.